country. She is a beautiful
Guyana will become the next Dubai, and we, the citizens of Guyana, are super excited to benefit from our homeland the same way the citizens of Dubai benefit from theirs.
This is what life is like for citizens from the
Guyana will become the next Dubai.
with wonderful people all over this country. She is a beauty, beautiful Guyana.
A very good evening to all our viewers on Globespan24x7 as we come to you on the Wednesday night program. I know most of you might confused, why is Charles and Dr. Rose on the Wednesday night program? But I think the moderators for the Wednesday night program, they were taken up today. So Noah asked Dr. Rose and I to moderate the program tonight. And we're dealing with a very important topic that make up a tremendous part of Guyana's body politics and the nation as a whole, which of course the rice industry. So we want to thank Nohar Singh for allowing us to do this program tonight, and of course to Devin Bisu, our technical specialist. To help us through tonight is no stranger to the industry. Raizar himself is Mr. Doerga, who was the founder of the Alesi Group in Guyana. So Mr. Doerga, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
And of course, Mr. Harbhajan, who was the Prime Minister repping Berbice and no stranger to the rice industry. Mr. Harbhajan, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And to help us along with all the technical issues, again, a very outstanding son of Guyana, Senior Counsel, Timothy Jonas. Mr. Jonas, welcome.
Good to see you, Charles. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
All right. And of course, my co-host for tonight's program is Dr. Rose. Dr. Rose, welcome.
Thank you, Charles, and welcome to all our listeners, far and wide.
Before we begin tonight, we want to extend again to the Hindu brothers. I know soon Navrat will be over. I know Mr. Doerga and Mr. Harbhajan might want to go to the temple, but we want to wish all the Hindus a very happy Navrat. Christians, the Lent season is coming to an end this week. As we know, Sunday is Palm Sunday, and then we go to Holy Week, and then Good Friday and Easter Monday. And of course, the Muslim brothers are celebrating Ramadan. They have basically almost 1 week into it. So we want to wish all Guyanese from every religion all the best in their endeavors. Tonight, we want to talk about the rice industry. And before we get into that, gentlemen, I want to put the record straight, if you don't mind, to our audience. Before Alesi came to Guyana, and I'm not saying this because Mr. Doerga is on the program tonight, but rice in Guyana, the farmers were paid about $200 per bag. When Desmond Hoyt sold the silos to Alesi, immediately Mr. Doerga and Alesi took rice price to, I think, if Mr. Doerga correct me here, almost $400 a bag and even more. Because what Mr. Doerga saw, and which the Guyanese millers did not see, was that the OCT route that was taking Guyana's rice, processing in Guyana, to Curacao and into Europe, free of duty. No Guyanese ever thought of that before. Maybe to take it to Montserrat, for instance, and process it there and ship it to Europe duty-free. Mr. Doerga did that, and of course, he was crucified both by, the politicians and so on else, for disrupting the rice industry. But Mr. Doerga, I think credit must be given to you to enhance the profitability in the sector and to ensure that after you came on the scene, production of paddy went up tremendously. So thank you, sir, for doing that for Guyana.
Thank you.
Okay, so now let's talk about the industry. As we speak today, the rice industry, we are reaping this harvest time for rice. And we are seeing photos in the quarantine of all things that are happening, and I'm sure it's happening across the rice sector in Guyana. So gentlemen, Mr. Doerga, I can start with you. What is the state of the rice industry in Guyana as we speak today?
First of all, let me correct a few things. What we did is that when we came and we made the rice plan, we took the paddy price to trigger it to 400, and then we created what we call the Overseas Countries and Territory Regulation, because in 1992 the EU became one. It's called the derogation regulation. So what we did is that the EU said if you take a agriculture product from a ex-colony and you take it to an autonomous part of Europe, you process it and upgrade it 30%, you can come into Euro duty-free, levy-free. At that time, the difference was almost $400 to $500. So that is why in 1992, we hiked the price to almost $2,200. And I will never forget when we were called by the president and he said he doesn't know what's going on. They start to plow up the cricket fields as well. And farmers, there was not enough seed and so forth. Everybody knows the story. So the rice industry started booming, the economy took off, and that was that story. What happened is that we had several situations. One of them was 2008, where there was a shortage, as we have now. So what we did is in the trade, when you know that there's going to be a shortage, the trade will go, they will take futures. It means they will early try to buy the rice. It is upon the countries, because rice is always a country issue, who will then through their RPA or through their GRDB make sure that they follow the market and they say, well, we're not selling as yet. You have to wait. But for that, you need institutions, you need the regulations where you're going to cushion the farmers. It's often called in countries where we have fixed that, like in Thailand, and so an intervention fund. So the farmers can get part of the money and they're waiting for the price to raise. And then you take it from there. So we have had those things, and that is why the highest paddy price ever paid was 2008, 2009, and that was $6,800 per bag of paddy. Never again that happened. Following that, it went into a crisis because for whatever political reasons, our licenses were revoked, and then they lost the market because how hurtful it is to say, but it's a fact, we were controlling the market at that time because we created the market. So the prices dropped and then we were called to help. But we had positioned our markets already based on other sources. So when the government called upon us, we brought in the Venezuela option. At that time, Guyana wasn't talking with Venezuela, so we asked permission if we could negotiate it. We did so. Long story short, the president signed an agreement with Venezuela. The Venezuelan president came, and the industry again went into a huge boom. Unfortunately, it was screamed off. I published how it was screamed off. People lost faith. The sitting government lost the election. We supported the opposition at that time. They won the election, but then we got the surprise that that was the worst government Guyana ever had. And that's my personal opinion. So the corruption was taken care of, but I went silent because I saw how prosecutors wouldn't show up and people walk free and so forth and so forth. But it's Guyana. In the meantime, I retired as a CEO, and the new CEO proposed to the board, and they pulled out of Guyana basically. So Alesi still buys plenty, much rice from Guyana, but through brokers. What we now see is that, in my personal opinion, is that they don't have a clue how the market works. So they sell too early, so the prices are low, so the farmers get a low price. And I asked Devin if he can put up the first slide to explain it to you what is happening. I don't know if Devin is listening to me. So you can see that slide, and what the indicator that gives is that if you look at 2008, the fertilizer price surged, which created a high price for the farmers. You see that occurring in the end of 2022 to going in 23. So you can see that. So we knew before that the shortage is going to come. So let me show you what is published next. That's the other slide, where it is said that there will be a short supply of rice by 3 million metric tons. When you know that, normally your farmers, when you inform them, they start to celebrate because they know they're going to get top prices. That is why I asked Gobin that I have seen something, but we are really busy, not in Guyana, but in other countries. I saw that the government agreed for a $4,000 price for a bag of paddy. Well, if that is the case, I can now tell you that the farmer will be losing money, big time, because given the fertilizer price, given the fuel price, you can never make it work. Or you have to go at a scale where you're talking a few thousand acres of rice land, drones fertilizing, that sort of thing. With the small scale farmers we have in Guyana, you either have to subsidize them now or they go bankrupt. You can see that Guyana is not unique. So what will happen? The small farmer will lose their land to the big farmers. The big farmers, when they go bankrupt, the millers will pick up that land. And so you will have a situation where you will have a widening of the gap. So the smaller farmers now have to either do it as a hobby or go and get out of business and have another job, or you have to accept as a country that you restructure rice and you say you create farmers who are going to have at least 100 acres of land, and you make it feasible for them. There are other factors which were very important, which we saw coming. And as people in the rice industry, as you know, Charles and Gobin, Alazy never planted a grain of rice because we are not planters. That is for people with a different mindset. We're process traders, and what we do in all the countries, so that is what makes Alazy worldwide. We go in, we help establish it, and we make sure that we advise governments that for those who have a land which they own, that is fine. Never sell your land to foreign companies and so forth. Lease it to them. The reason for that is that when you lease the land, if they don't perform, you tell them that, look, I lease you this land for this affordable price, but if you don't perform, you're hurting my economy. So that has to be in place. The second thing is in 2011, because 32% of the paddy price is fuel. So when the Takatu oil was found, it wasn't in commercial quantities, but we immediately said, pattern it from Turhane. Use that oil for the local market, so one of your industry, which is a major industry, you could lower that fuel price. Then another thing happened, which we warned, but again, Guyana has a lot of exports and we respect that. Maybe they have different plan. You look at what is happening in Georgetown. So you fetch 650,000 metric tons of rice from Berbice, 250 kilometers to Georgetown. You don't have proper loading facility. You understand? We are the ones who introduce bulk loading, ton sacks, that sort of thing. It's still the same. The bulk loading disappeared. The ton sack is still there. So what is happening? Your cost price to take that rice to the top to town, you're losing minimum $25. And economists will argue that no, it's less than that because the trucker earns less than that. But what about the taxpayers who are paying to keep and build a road? Is that free? So the cost is about $40, $45, $50 a ton. The next thing happened, oil and gas came about. All the wars basically were sold, so rice is now competing with oil and gas. That is why we have proposed and we said you need to build a deep water port somewhere else for rice. Give you an example in Chalemban, in Thailand, there's a special wharf for only rice. You understand? Because given what is happening with the food situation in the world, everything is going to go containerized, processed to the end. And Guyana, kudos to the millers, they have the most advanced mills they are. Computerized, color sorting, everything. So they can compete in the world market on quality, on almost everything. But the millers are choked. Where do they load? They have to find trucks. You have to import the truck, the fuel of the truck. Whereas if you had fixed the logistics, you would not have had that problem. So it's a compounding of issues which have now put the farmer in a situation. A lot of people calling it the Dutch disease. Dutch disease would have occurred in a much later stage and you would have had time to curb it. But now it is coming in all kinds of forms. You ask, and Gobin might be able to shed some light on it. Ask any farmer if you want somebody to shine paddy. Before, it was $2,000 a bag to shine. You don't pay those guys now $5,000, they ain't coming. A welder, in the offshore, they get much more money, so they go away. Then the other phenomena, which, I mean, we research it, we know why, but the government should research with all these goodies now. Why are so many Barbadians migrating? So it's a compounded problem we have in Guyana. We know the factors. If you know the factors, you can find the solutions and turn it around. But you need real professionals to do it. So that is what I can contribute to this.
You've spoken volume there, Mr. Doerga, and I know Tim and Gobin want to come in there. But before they come in, we have a clip from Essequibo Coast that I want to play before Mr. Jonas and Mr. Harbhajan address us. Devin, do you have that clip from Essequibo?
We had a very difficult time to plant, and still now to this date, where the rice start to bear, some will harvest very soon. We can't know what we're working for. Paddy started off, close off last crop at $4,000 per bag. And this crop, where rice will start harvesting this weekend, we see some milk got up board at $3.5.
The fertilizer drop.
So the question we asking is a genuine one.
But presently now, right, the cost of rice farmer, $115,000 acre for produce 1 acre rice. And last crop farmer only run about $65,000 per acre. Who want to tell you that they get 40 bag acre, let the company media and tell you or show you? Right, me personally get it.
You go plow, you cut your paddy and you don't know what the bag you get. Nice, and it? Very good.
All of those rice farmers we have got contractor now. Because nobody didn't go and spare and get contractor. Right?
That's the view of some of the Essequibo farmers. And of course, we had Mr. Siraj last week, and he said, like any other crop, Mr. Jonas and Mr. Harbhajan, is that we don't know what the price will be, as Mr. Doerga rightly said. We don't follow trend in the market, so we can store our product, and when the time is right, then we can sell it for super price. What do you think, Mr. Jonas, before Mr. Harbhajan comes on? Your mute is on, Mr. Jonas.
Well, I was really interested to hear what my friend Mr. Doerga was saying in terms of the figures and the history he gave and all of that. And I understand the need to wait for a strategic time to sell your product on the foreign market, on the international market, there are a couple of variables that need to be dealt with. The first is your storage capacity. And this is something I don't know. So I'm asking him the question. You just finished your crop. Your silos got rice to sell. What storage capacity do you have, and how long can you wait? How long are you willing to wait for a strategic point to sell? And the second question, you see, here's the thing that's bothering me. Guyana, as a percentage of the world's production, is minuscule, 1% or even less. So we have no impact, we have no control on the world market price. Now, I agree with what Turhane is saying, that part of the government's responsibility has got to be to try to look overseas, look for markets, and see if they can assist in getting good prices on the international market. Whether they do it in CARICOM using the treaty arrangement, whether they get preferential duty arrangement elsewhere, however they do it, if they can do it good. To me, that I see as their involvement. But how much flexibility do we have, and this is a question I'm asking, in terms of capacity for storage and when we have to sell? And I wonder if you could help me with that.
Yes, let me explain that. We are from 1992 till now. We are 30 years down the road. The storage capacity thing was always discussed, but I will make a statement here which a lot of people will disagree with me, but not for rationality, but for political reasons. Sometimes the farmers are their own enemy. Would they have fixed the RPA, then the farmers' organizations would have created proper storage. If you have an intervention fund, it's no rocket science. It's done in many countries where the paddy is brought to the storage. You get a bill of exchange. You take your bill of exchange. You can go get 50% of your money, and you can continue your business. Then you're running an industry. Concerning the world market price, there is nothing called, that was in the past. Today, there is an index. So that gives you an idea at what levels you will sell. Then comes where you will now look at what are the treaties, in which hemisphere are you. Let me give you an example. If I bring rice from the Far East in the Caribbean, I get to pay 20% duty because of CARICOM. Plus my freight is over $100 per ton. So you can't just say, well, I look at the price of Thailand and therefore I'm not competitive. For instance, in the Alesi group, that is what I know of, we have a screen, you touch the destination, and that program will tell you from all destinations what your price is, and then you can start negotiate with the buyer. So the price in the case of Guyana, the market is Europe, because your freight is very competitive to Europe, but it can be cut in half if you do certain things to make you more competitive. The other thing is that American rice, because it has GMO traces, the Europeans don't want it. So you have an edge there already, plus the shortage of rice. So in life, it's not what you get, it's what you negotiate for. If I know that there's a shortage of rice, you understand, you better pay me the right price. You understand? In this case, I'm going to say a daring thing. I think the right price was paid, but it doesn't trickle down to the farmer because there's only a few sellers.
Exactly.
There's only a few sellers. And it is being condoned. You remember, Alesi was taken out of the equation. So what does Alesi do? We are in the end market. We are a fair trade company. So we buy through brokers. And just to wake up people, Alesi never made so much money on rice than now on Guyana rice. And who is paying the price? The farmers. Whose fault is it? I say the farmers themselves. They should have find the right people to represent them and make sure that this business is taken care of. Guyanese rice and Suriname rice pull a premium. And I don't even want to talk about the millers exporting backtrack to Venezuela at premium prices cash in the thousands of tons. You hear what I'm telling you? So the situation is dire. If they don't fix it, with the migration, why do people migrate? Because it's so great? Because they don't see the future anymore. And that is the situation. So I'm so afraid that what was built over so many years is now going down. And I don't even want to bring sugar in the equation. So agriculture, if we get drunk with this oil money coming, and those who stay in Guyana can find jobs there, it doesn't look good for agriculture.
Tim, you're through with that. Mr. Harbhajan can. Mr. Jonas, are you finished, or you let Mr. Harbhajan?
Well, I don't want to interrupt Gobin if you have something to say. He hasn't said anything for the evening, so.
Yeah, okay. All right. Mr. Harbhajan, before Dr. Rose come on, you're in Berbice. What is going on with the rice sector in Berbice?
What is going on in the rice sector across Guyana?
Okay,
I have a different view from Doerga. And the whole thing with the storage and with the price, world market price. Charles, country that use presently planting rice or was planting rice decades now, increase production by large numbers. The production increase in certain countries, Vietnam, Philippines, and say Thailand. Guyana, we have approximately a little over 200,000 acres of rice land. And this rice land been around for 50 years now. We didn't increase more land. However, I should not say the rice industry is on a downslide. It have its ups and it have its downs. If one of the biggest factor for profitability for rice farmers is cost. The biggest cost for rice farmer, the way I see it, is the renting of rice land. It's about 30,000 to 35,000 an acre. That's 25% of the profit going on rent. How you fix that? Remember, we have to come up rather than say what happened in the past. How you fix that? Prior to the coalition going government, the PPP with the open farm to market road in Perica, that was something they did. And when the coalition going government in 2016, I saw the way rice land rent was increasing from 6,000 per acre to 4,000 per acre to 25 to 30, that's per acre. I saw that, look, if the farm to market road work under the PPP time when they do that at Perica, I take that same model and I propose it to the coalition, and that for the 58 Alweda Road from Public Road to Kanji Creek, which will see over 8,000 acres of new land open. That was just one. Open up more land for rice farmer will reduce their expense, and they rather than pay the 30,000, 35,000 per acre. So that's one of the things. I would agree with Doerga that rice farmers sometimes cause this upon themselves, because the world market price is not a stable price. So when X or Y rent the rice field, right, and they see that the rice price go up, then the rent go up. But remember, when the rent go up, it don't come down back even if the price drop world market. So the rice rent stay at one price, which is high. Government, I believe that then and now should focus and open up more new land, so that will reduce that. One of the other problems that we have here, Charles, 80% this is my view and my research, what I did during the collation time. 80% of the rice land, and I saw that Siraj would have talked about it when you raised it up here. 80% of the rice land in this country now does not own by rice farmers in Guyana. They own by foreigners who migrate. So when these foreigners came in, you know, to collect rent, remember what Doerga say Gobin happened back in the days was one crop, mostly one crop per year. Today you have 2 crops per year. So you have, you know, you have farmers going in, so they have to fuck up this 35,000 an acre, which is going to be 70,000 per year. So these landlords came in from overseas and they want 3 crop rent ahead of time. So the farmers are trained to take loans to make that payment. And that put a strain on them. Plus you have an increase in fertilizer and you have an increase in a few other things. During the collation time, there was some consumption tax and some other things at the fertilizer which would increase it. Lower the cost of production can be very, very, you know, but the question here is that RPA, which is mandated or which is a body like a GAU to represent the rice farmer, they need to do more and focus their attention right now for one of the biggest costs rice farmer facing is rent. They need to fight that with the legislation and the land rent, because when you lease a land and then you start to rent it, that's illegal. So then the RPA need to fight for the farmer interest to lower that. And 1, 2 more other concessions where government is starting to give it now. So I don't see the rice industries on a dunghill. Government, lately I see they have an agenda to open more farm to market road, which will create more land, Charles. Because since in the 60s, myself would have seen the same set of 200,000 acre land. It has not increased, and it was passed on to generation to generation. So to get industry going, don't say about the economical side of it, but I'm telling you on the ground what some of the challenges they're facing. And until you started to get these farmers themselves, because farmers are very hard people to deal with, they themselves need to understand other country, the cost of production per acre of rice is far cheaper what they're doing Guyana here. So they bring this expense upon themselves. So if you're going to squeeze the miller to keep up, to pay them the high price, remember, the miller have a fluctuate market. Sometimes market go up, market go down. And if they make facility or storage facility, remember, other countries increase rice production. So what they do if they don't have to sell it, they remember rice farmer need cash. What they do with the department.
Good point. Dr. Rose, continue.
Yes, Mr. Doerga, I would like to ask you a question. I don't know if you got the answer for it. How many tons of rice Guyana produces per year? I know it fluctuates.
According to the statistics of Guyana, they export about 600,000+ tons of rice. But to also give you, because Timothy said something which was very important, and that is where people who are not in the industry are being confused with, because what he said is very legitimate. If you only 1% of world production, what's your problem? You understand? You're a nobody. So I explained to you that you have specific markets where that 650,000 tons of Guyana fetches high prices, and you have the CARICOM, which you're protected with a 20% duty. Mr. Harbhajan, let me give you an equation how dire the situation with food is in the world. As you know, you're in a rice area. Let us take India, 1.4 billion people. They produce in a good year 120 million tons of rice. Stick a pin there. An Indian compared to an American eats 1 meal a day. Out of that 120 million ton, they consume themselves between 100 and 120 million ton. The world market trade in rice is in the top 52 million tons. What do you think happened if Indians start to eat 2 meals a day? You wipe out the world trade. So the advice which was given to them in Delhi is slow down your economy because you will create a food crisis. It means that if they have a monsoon or so, they send the whole world market in disarray. And I am not talking about China as yet. So it is not a simple thing sitting at Cowan Street in a boardroom and just deciding that we're going to now fix the rice industry. You need world experts to come in, and you have to look at it from all angles, and you have to put things in place. Timothy said it right. That was the real question. You can say we're going to hold paddy, but where are the silos? Where are the storage capacity? My answer to that is 30 years we're busy in the rice industry, we haven't fixed it. So if we're going to continue doing the same thing, the result won't be different. You have to do other things. You have to approach it in a different way. You understand? And what Gobin has said that, you know, the price of land and so forth. I believe in free enterprise. If it says my property, I put the price, you pay it. If you don't want to pay it, you leave. You understand? It's supply and demand. But this is why governments, especially when it comes to food production, when you have leased land, you need powerful organization to monitor it. And the only thing there is that you're leasing this land, you have, or crop you have to produce. If you don't produce, we might skip a crop and let you go. There's no third and fourth time that you're not producing. If you lease the land from government and you're subleasing it to somebody else, you lose the land. The problem is that it's so politically loaded that that never, ever happened. So you need a new crop of, call it politicians if you want, or leaders in the rice industry, to fix those things if you want to survive. And that is what I'm trying to say. And of course, people don't like reality, but you look at every country where it was fixed. Don't compare it with America and Europe, you know. The farm bill there is $52 billion a year. So they subsidize it to make food affordable for the people. You understand? So it is not an easy thing. You need real professionals, professionals to fix.
Mr. Doerga, I just want to chip in here, if you don't mind. You said earlier tonight that farmers are losing money even though rice is $4,000 a bag for a bag of paddy. What should a bag of paddy be sold for in order for farmers to make a profit?
And I can tell you what the market would carry today. You could pay the farmers, but everybody will say, oh, Doerga can talk a lot because he's not buying paddy. Indeed, we're not buying paddy. But the company I work for, I'm still on the board, and they looked at it because they have to know what the market is going to do. Today, the price should be above $5,000 a bag, but it's not trickling down. Why it's not trickling down? That is a complicated thing. Have the millers sold at the right price? Have they done the right things when negotiating for the price? We don't know those factors. What we do know is that we can buy Guyanese rice real cheap in Europe. Sorry, facts.
So you're saying that rice is not profitable at $4,000 a bag for paddy. So why the farmers are not being paid $5,000 in order to make a profit for them to stay on the farm and plant rice? Is there a reason why?
No, if I'm losing money, you have to see it this way. There's certain things happen. We were, for instance, baffled in 1992 when farmers were minting money. They used that money to buy property in New York and so forth because of the business psychologists working with us said because of the trauma they had before, they choose security. They had money, they want to beat out, they want to invest their money in another place. You understand? And we see the same pattern coming back. These are my opinions based on, because I'm on the board of a huge rice company, so we follow what is happening in the world. So the farmer, we think the farmer cannot make money because we know the fertilizer price, we know the fuel price, you understand, we know the labor price. It's not difficult. There are programs today where you plug it in and you know what the production is, especially when you can also today plug in what the average production per acre is. Well, we speak in hectares, you understand? The research center in Guyana has done an excellent job in increasing production per acre. So those guys, you have to give them credit for what they have done. You understand? It's even so that Guyana seeds for rice, for paddy, are being smuggled to Suriname. So that section of the rice industry has done really, really well. You understand? But the other part of it, the training of farmers, and there is training of farmers being done, but I never go to them. What I know is that it's not giving the result it should have. You follow what I'm saying? So as we are not involved, you know, we're just looking in from the outside towards it, okay, and asking ourselves, what is happening?
Understood. Mr. Jonas, let me bring you in here. Based on your knowledge of the rice industry, and I know you have some knowledge of it, and what has been said here tonight, do you think the government is doing enough to help the rice farmers and to save the rice industry?
I would like to talk about politics and rice indeed. Let me just deal with a couple things that were said before. You notice that Gobin focused a lot on rental as an important factor in one of the expenses faced by the farmers. I understand that is a very large problem, especially in the Berbice area, where most of the land is state land that is rented out and that kind of thing. And Asquith is more owned. And there are foreigners, but I agree with Turhane that it's the capitalist system works. And if you own property and you choose to rent it, and someone thinks he can make $1 renting it from you and using it, that's how the system should work. You sink or you swim by your wits. So I don't believe in subsidization or interfering with that. When you showed the clip of farmers just now, the most noticeable issue that the farmers had is that they are planting and they don't know how much money they are going to be getting for their paddy. That's what they said. They're planting the rice, they're planting the crop, they do not know what they're going to be getting for it, and all of them worried. Now, that is untenable. You can't have that. And the reason that I asked my friend Mr. Doerga about the international market, pointing out how small we were and going to his expertise, because this is an area that very few people that I've encountered know as well as this man, how to manipulate the timing on the international market so you get a good price. The one factor that we are not told is what our millers are selling the rice for on the international market. And that is something that is being kept in a vault like a secret.
Absolutely.
No, that cannot work, because what that does is that foments a suspicion between the farmer and the miller. Now, one thing that I noticed Turhane did when he was discussing it, he was saying rice farmer in terms of exports. But really, it's the miller who is exporting. The farmer's job is done when he delivers his paddy to the mill. These farmers don't get involved in export. And you are comparing 6,000 odd farmers with about 40 odd mills. And of those 40 odd mills, there's only 20 something of them are able to export. So you have a powerful negotiating dynamic, because if it's only 40 of us and there's 6,000 people trying to come to sell, we are in a strong position. And if we are not telling you what our resale price is, then that's an issue. Because the farmer complains. The farmer says, y'all rob me with your scales. Y'all rob me with how you're assessing the quality of my paddy. Because the same GRDB that we should be relying on puts the quality assessors right there in the mills. They are hand in glove. So you have a position of conflict. He says, you're robbing me with your moisture content that you say I got. Now, here is why there is this suspicion. Because the cheaper the price I can get my paddy for if I'm a miller, the less money I pay those farmers is the more profit I get when I sell. Let me say it again, because this is simple math, and this is something that seems to have escaped our leaders. If I can rob those farmers and pay them a little bit of money for their paddy, my profit margin increases when I sell my rice. It's so simple and so obvious. So every time you're keeping the price secret that the millers are selling their rice for, you are augmenting and reinforcing and making the situation worse of this suspicion that the farmers have for the millers and the secrecy that the millers have. And you got to ask yourself, why is this? Now, I had been proposing something, and I'm not proposing it like a preacher. I'm proposing it to people like Doerga because I want his view. I want his point of view if he says, you know, this thing here can work. And it's based on free market economy principles. If the miller is required by law to pay for paddy a fixed percentage of the sale price of rice, so if he's selling rice for $100, he's paying a fixed percentage of that for paddy. The secrecy then goes, and the farmer, the rice farmer, is then in a position that he knows what he's getting for his paddy. But better yet, it removes any motivation that the miller has to rob him. Because if the miller say, boy, cheating you on the scale, when he sells that rice for $100, he's still got to find a percentage of that to go and pay the farmer the difference for the paddy. So it doesn't benefit him to rob him with the scales or to rob him with the grade. Because if he says low grade paddy, wherever he sells the rice for that the same paddy is milled for, he got to go back and pay a fixed percentage of the price of that rice. It means full transparency in what he's selling his rice for. It means that he and the farmer, the miller and the farmer, now have a linked and joint interest. First of all, in getting a good price on the international market. Second of all, in making sure that the production volume is high. So they are now together. Their motives and their aspirations, their economic interests are now joint rather than conflicting. And that's what you want. And I believe that will go a long way to pacifying the suspicions, but also fixing the solution where it is directed, which is making sure you're getting a good price and saying to the government, what's up with the CARICOM Treaty? What's up with the arrangement with Europe? Where are we getting markets? Now, if we can align the interests of the farmer and the miller so they're not quarreling anymore, because the farmer knows whatever's the percentage, 40, 50, 60% of the price of the rice being sold is his own, come hell or high water. And the difference belongs to the miller. So both of them are interested in getting the best possible price. Then they can have a proper conversation with the government to say, here's your role. Your role is to deal with the international treaties, the international arrangements, see what's the best you can do, because we are selling and we're looking for buyers internationally, but your function must be nationally, regionally, to try and help. And that, I think, will isolate the conversation to where it needs to be. But I would like Turhane's point of view on that, because as I say, I'm not preaching, I'm just throwing out an option.
No, it is absolutely an option. However, in the world, a lot of options have been tried. The one which we feel works really and truly good is what we now see with the intervention fund. So how does it work? The miller, the farmer, when he harvests his paddy, because the farmers are the most powerful people on earth. If in Europe you don't give the farmers what they want, the economy shuts down. The same thing in America. They're the most powerful people. But they are the most powerful people because they are organized. Let me give you something which happens a week ago. In Holland, they come with this climate change and farmers can't have so many cows and this and the other and so forth. The farmers said enough is enough. They formed a new party, brand new party, and in one time they became the largest party in Holland. And we're talking Holland, the power of the people. Coming back to Guyana now. The intervention funds, how does it work? When you have the silos, but as I said, 30 years, we are still at the same place. The farmer now harvests his paddy, he comes to an independent silo, it is graded, it is dried, it is stored. The miller, his storage don't go to waste, he can still compete because the farmer wants cash, but the farmer is now not pressed because when he brings it there now, there's an intervention fund, and he gets a percentage of what is the average price it will be sold for. What he then gets is then the miller now who have contracts because they have to live, they have to run their mill, they have to pay for the Mercedes-Benz, the 4x4, you understand? And what is happening now is that the paddy is now in the silo, he has to come now and bid for it. And what you have, the farmers must have a powerful organization to inform the farmer, just like every other country. Every day they can see what the price is doing in the specific markets. So the farmer now by their experts which they have in the RPA will now tell them that this is the price you should get. But the farmer don't have to fight anymore because it is stored dry. The miller wants it, he has to pay the price. That system has proven to work. In America, they took it to the next level with the commodity exchange, where futures finance crops. The only thing is it got out of hand when they take away the regulation. So now you're trading rice and wheat and so forth, which don't exist. It's the trade. You understand? So in the case of Guyana, because it is so little bit and you have so specific markets, you can fix it properly. But the question is, do we have the will to fix it? I looked at the people in the rice board at this moment. Then I come across a name of a doctor who, what somebody just said, the only thing he knows is eating rice, but he's on the board. Why? Because he's a politician. So is he accommodated to keep quiet? I don't know. You understand? So what Timothy is saying is absolutely an option, but to do that you need real honest men to fix it, and it will work.
Okay. Mr. Harbhajan, Mr. Doerga says that the rice industry doesn't look good. You differ from that. Why?
I listened to Jonas and Doerga just now. Doerga make a point that the rice farmer is a powerful body which can represent and make demands and however the case may be. Jonas make a suggestion. What both men need to understand is that the rice farmer has a RPA, a body which they elect to represent them, make all those points. Constitutionally, RPA end up with 2 seats and the GRDP board. So that's the decision-making body. That's the body that say, look, if the rice miller is getting $100 back for paddy, and you have the GRDP grading officer at the site, well, what is the function of the board at which you have the RPA and the board, or what is the representation of the RPA? Maybe Doerga could have said, maybe the rice farmer need to come together and maybe elect a new body, because sitting down and we looking at the Europe and we looking at Thailand, we can look at all the model, but we has to start here, right? And how do we start here? For example, as an activist for development and ID, I have been pushing certain things, and I was informed that presently we are getting 33 to 35 baht per acre, which other countries get into 40 to 50 baht per acre. GRDB right now is headed a team, including some of the miller, or one of the miller is headed to Brazil to look for different seed paddy which will increase the yield. Now, if we throw back and we sit down and we started to make, well, look, what could have been done? We have to let these people, the RPA, GRDB, go down on the ground, which they are. Every region, I think, have 5 or 6 representatives of GRDB, which are paid by GRDB, plus you have the RPA representative, who are going and re-interact with this farmer day to day. You can't tell me which, we don't have small farmer anymore, in my view. We have big farmers. They need to sit with them and say, look, this is the problem. Government is doing, and I will make this clear as much as I've been criticized them at times, right? They are doing, they have to get the water into the canals, they have to clean the canals, they have to make the dam and do the roads. As soon as they make the road, the same rice farmer go and broke it up back, they have to go back every 3 months and do it. So now all those expense that budgeted for the agriculture sector is trickling down things which rice farmer could be prevented. So those are some of the things that happening. I also want to ask Doerga. He was in the rice he used to buy paddy. He have his mill. I mean, why not come back and open a rice mill? Because Guyana is a free market. You know, you come set a back mill, maybe you can lead by example.
It is simple. First of all, your countries will attract investors when they make it comfortable for investors. And then you have mechanisms which free enterprise make sure that they get the right price. That's why I mention it. At the time when the prices were high, and they are at that level at this moment, farmers were getting $6,800 for a bag of paddy. Nobody can deny that. You understand? Now, Doerga is connected with Guyana by birth. So we were doing what we have to do. You now have a CEO who look at bottom line. And bottom line tells him that it's better you buy through brokers and don't take the headache which you have in Guyana. Because in 30 years, it did not change. You understand? That is why I say you cannot be doing the same thing and expect a different result. So what is going to happen is that things come full circle. When it crashes, they might invite real entrepreneurs again to do the job. That's one. The second thing is that when you talk about politics, and I don't want to go there, but I will make a remark because I'm Guyanese as you, I have the right to speak out. One of the things is that when you have government-driven enterprise, you get predatory companies. When you have private sector-driven economic development, you get genuine companies. And it's very simple. Because genuine companies will take loan, they better make money to pay it back. When you have government-driven, taxpayers' money is always there. Look at Gaisuku and you understand what I'm telling you. So, Alesi, coming back to Guyana, I'm too old, I cannot do it. You might have to talk to the board of directors, but I know how they feel about Guyana. So, but there are other companies in the world. There are a lot of companies in the world. Make it attractive, and you will see companies will come. But if you have to deal with the rice board, and you have to deal with there is no proper wharf to ship the rice and that sort of thing, you know, then you have a problem.
Look, what I'm getting is that you're not influenced, Alesi, to come back to Ghana. I know you said that to the age or whatever, maybe you could. If that's the model, hold on, you can come in just now. I want to touch on what Jonas said there. That Jonas, yes, it's a free market for rent, but most of these rice land was given in the 40s and 60s as leased land. So people who own the lease, you know, like Doerga say, or you, I don't know which one y'all say that, government need to look at that, because the leased land now is become a real estate, and government is, rice crop is 2 times a year. So if Jones is going to get $70,000 a year for 1 acre and paying the government $1,000 rates and tax for that. So the profit for the landlord of the land is $69,000, whilst the government get 1. So this is, need to look at, and this is where RPA need to come in and see how they can, better make recommendation to lower that. Until there is a demand for land in this country, and if the 200,000 acres, if we don't increase that, and which I see the government have a vision to open more farm to market road, more land you open, rice farmer will make profit. Rice at $4,000 a bag, Doerga, they're making profit. If they were not making profit, they would be out of business. Nobody gonna, and for Jonas, look, rice is a business. A man he take his loan, most of the loan they take from the bank or the millers. He must know, he can ask the miller, look, look, the spring crop coming up, what the paddy will be, because we're lending him money. So the farmers got to treat rice as a business, because they take in the loan, they need to buy tractors, buy whatever they want, and then, and then if you come up short, well, you face it. So you need they need to sit together with the RPA, GRDB, and the millers, because remember, government, if there is one sector government is helping more in this country, is the rice sector. And any other sector, government subsidize a lot. I mean, they get central government help. For example, the Water Users Association, which is in the Secure Bombardis, government plug money into that. You get NDIA, that also rice farmer benefit from that, drainage and irrigation. You have the region have some responsibility to. So when you look at all these hundreds of millions, it's going towards the rice sector for them to benefit. So it's not like if they're not putting in. Maybe the agency, head of those agencies, they need to revisit them and program them to Doerga make some point and see how they can able to better assist the farmer. GRDB has a responsibility to educate farmers about better yield and about planting, and to get better price for the paddy. That's the function, if you ask me.
Okay. Charles, over to you.
And gentlemen, I think all of you are saying the same thing, just a different way. And I think what Mr. Doerga and Mr. Jonas is saying too, and Mr. Harbhajan, is that if you're building a house and the roof is leaking, you have a problem. So yeah, the government might be plowing millions and billions in industry, but who controls it? The GRDB, made up political appointees, the RPA, who are politicians. We are the professionals in the organization to run it effectively. And I like Mr. Jonas' suggestion is that the percentage of the final price we pay to the farmers. Mr. Doerga, in Suriname, in Nikeri per se, I don't know Paramaribo, but Nikeri, a lot of the farmers have their own drying facility and they store their paddy in their dryer, in their silo. Why is that not happening to the Guyanese rice farmers?
So the Suriname situation is even worse than Guyana. Suriname went from 225,000 tons of rice export to now 75,000 tons, for the simple reason that you had the same situation. Mr. Bouterse took over and suddenly military guys were running the rice industry. They joined with certain millers who are now running around in Maybachs, which cost $500,000. You understand? And the farmers, the industry went down. But farmers normally always survive. In the case of Suriname, just like how they leave and they go to New York, they went to Holland and whatever. So now finally, this government, and I hope they push through, have seen that what was happening. So Suriname is now building a port, so they don't have to drive the rice now 275 kilometers to Paramaribo. In the deep water port in Nigeria is 15 kilometers. That will enhance their price with $50. There's going to be a program which is in the making now, where they're going to take Suriname in 4 crops from the now 75,000 tons to 500,000 tons, and within 5 years, over 1 million tons. The thing is, if you think that they will be competing with Guyana, they don't. It's just what Timothy says. It's insignificant in the world market because of the shortage of food. Because of the shortage of food. The FAO, you talk to them, they will be pleading to you to produce more. You follow what I'm saying? So if you don't make money with food, everybody is talking about oil and gas. Another division of Alicia is in oil and gas. They're building LNG plants and all kind of other things. Oil and gas has money. Food has more money. But you have to do it right. You understand what I'm telling you? You have to do it right. So in the case of Suriname, you're referring to what they call the Doerga there, but that is an outdated thing. The column dryers are the thing, but today you have modular column dryers. So that is what the implementation is going to be in Suriname. Everybody who has more than 100 hectares in combination of our own will have completely financed 1 dryer unit and 1 milling unit. They can knock off the shell, the cargo, they put it in the truck, they go to the wharf, and there are certified silos with bankers who are going to be speculating with the commodity. They get their money cash. It's a new model. So you need to have proper planning by professionals. You understand? And I don't see it in Guyana.
Mr. Jonas, thank you. Mr. Jonas, isn't that the way to go, what Ms. Doerga just said there for the Guyanese farmers? Your mute is on.
Well, I think we got to separate plans from pipe dreams. And I want to start with what my friend Harbhajan was saying. He said there's a Rice Producers Association and they need to do their jobs. And he said there's GRDB and they need to do their jobs. And he said that the government builds a road and in 3 months the farmers break it down and they need to do their jobs. And the farmers need to get organized. Now, I hear his frustration, but none of that is a plan to solve the problem. And I hear my friend Doerga, and again, I'm going to say in front of all these people what I said before we came on, Doerga's forgotten more about rice than I would ever know, right? So I say it in this context, that he mentioned the farmers in Europe and the States and the power that they have as a union, as a unit. And he's right. If you go on, you just got to go online and see the farmers' unions in Europe and in the States and how powerful they are as a lobby group in Washington, D.C., as a lobby group in the various semi-socialist and capitalist economies in Central Europe. They are a powerhouse. Now, that turns on a lot of things. It turns on coordination, it turns on education, it turns on similar values. Business in Guyana isn't run like that. Business in Guyana is cutthroat. And most farmers are for themselves. So if one farmer gets a good price, he ain't too bothered about his neighbor. There isn't that cohesiveness, that union. And that permeates the entire society. That's why unions, trade unions, have never been effective in Guyana. It's every man for himself. So the farmers are not a powerful lobby group. They are not a centrally organized group. And they are not assisted properly by the RPA or the GRDB. And it's all about politics. And let's talk frankly about the vicious cycle of poverty that helps the politicians. If a farmer knew that the law required a miller to give him a percentage of the price that the miller got for the rice. So if the miller sells the rice for $100, $80 of that reaches the farmer in proportion to whoever he bought the paddy from. If he knew that as a fact, he doesn't have to ask anybody what his paddy is going to be. Because if he sells his paddy for $3,000 now, and that rice is milled and sold, he knows he's getting the difference to a fixed percentage that everybody knows about. Here's the problem with that. The problem with that is that he then doesn't every crop have to go to the politicians, go to his minister, go to the local politician and say, what am I going to do? I need your help. So that the politician can come down like a lord and say, I've spoken to the miller and this is what we're going to do. And the farmer says, praise the Lord, the politician has saved us. So an important ingredient in this is the need in our politics for the politicians to come and save the day. So they create the crisis, they don't fix the system so that you get this crisis, and they come and save the day. And they announce grandly what the price will be for the party. They also don't allow the public to know what the rice is being sold for, what the miller's profit margin is. But I'll tell you something. There's a slush fund called the GRDB that takes a percentage of all rice exported, the value that they're not supposed to take. And that is also hand in glove, because then the GRDB has money that can be applied for all the things that Gobin talking about that makes them look good. Dig a drain, build a road, how much millions in investing in seed paddy and developing seed paddy, all from a slush fund that they shouldn't be getting, but nobody examines it. So the politics is very ugly in the game. It creates the dependency, it perpetuates the dependency, and it does not try to fix the system so that there is an independence and a dignity in the farmers that is necessary.
And well said, Mr. Jonas. And you know, that percentage you're talking about, Mr. Jonas, is a brilliant idea. But guess what? What the miller will do? If he's getting $500 per ton for his end product, he's gonna tell the government, "I'm getting $300 a ton." And
that's actually very
$200.
difficult to do, Charles, because
I'm telling you what transfer pricing does. Transfer pricing allow that, but a great suggestion. But I was asking Mr. Doerga and I bring Mr. Harbhajan, is that what I've seen in modeling in Nikeri was that the drying facility was controlled by the farmers, and then once the farmers' paddy is dried, so the moisture content is off, they can now negotiate a better price with the miller when the miller needs the paddy to mill. Now that's something that hopefully we can implement in Guyana. Mr. Harbhajan, what do you think? I know Mr. Doerga want to comment here, but Mr. Harbhajan?
Charles, prior to 2015, around 2011, 2012, I'm not sure, the PP administration will spend approximately 300 million with some state-of-the-art drying facility to facilitate farmers. You still have some of that do exist. The question is, does the farmer use it? What they will do, Charles, they rather dump the paddy on the public road and use the road to dry the paddy rather than use the state-of-the-art facility. It comes back to educating farmers is what's best for them and how they can get better value for the product, because that's how the system is designed. But if you don't use the system, then you're going to fall back. Take, for example, 56 village in the quarantine. That's one of the, I think, the largest seed paddy facility, drying facility, state of the art. I think he do 20 ton, I think per hour, however. I don't have the match. It's been a while I didn't do it. But why are they not using it? Why? I mean, the question is, the RPA and GRDB, again, government, everybody can dump the whole thing in government and they can play the politics, but RPA themselves got 2 seats on GRDB board. So if you dump the blame on the government, well, RPA is just as guilty as them.
But again, Mr. Gobin, what Mr. Doerga is saying, exactly what you said here, is that we need professionals to run it. Now, you know paddy have moisture content, and if you keep it too long, you get discoloration. And once it discolored, your price went right down. Mr. Doerga knows that very well. So the farmers are very conscious too, that if my paddy moisture content is not reduced to a level that will protect my end product, they'll have to dry it somewhere. So if there's no professional monitoring that operation to use the drying facility, the farmers will continue to use the roadside, and that's the problem. Now let's talk about the Panama deal. Before, I know we only have 50 minutes more. Under Ramutar administration, we sold tons and tons of rice to Panama. I know Mr. Jonas is here for the legal advice, but you, Mr. Harbhajan and Mr. Doerga, what first thing, were the farmers paid for that paddy that they sold to the miller who then sold it through GRDB to Panama, or were they not paid?
Okay. Charles, from the understanding I have, what I discover, when the coalition paid government, that was something I asked Minister Holder. It was an arrangement with GRDB and Panama. It was a government arrangement, right? The GRDB would buy the paddy from the miller, or the rice from the miller. The miller has then pay out the farmers. So farmer was paid. From my understanding, miller paid the farmers. Now, when I think it was 10 million US, if my memory goes. I did ask Holder this a few times, the former Minister of Agriculture, and letter would have been right, but like under the coalition time, like I think they pay less interest to the loan, the money out there. But the thing is that if the government change in Panama, that's what I keep getting, that the government change and they don't want to facilitate the 10 million US dollar, what out to Guyana or whatever the case may be. I don't know, but maybe Doerga can tell a little bit more. But the farmers who paid, the miller is owed. That's how I understand it.
Okay, so Mr. Doerga, the farmers, in your view, the farmers are paid and the millers are the one who is owed?
You know, this is the beauty of free enterprise. When the farmer sells his paddy, he wants to be paid, period. You understand? When the miller sells his rice, he wants to be paid. Guyana is the only country on earth where brokers and buyers in Europe get 6 months credit from the millers. How is that for a change? You understand why we love what is going on as business people? You understand? And I can't fix that for you. It is the politicians and the people themselves. That's why I made the statement that the farmers are their own enemies. They have RPA, it's fixed by law. But how is the RPA election done? This is selection. Don't let us fool ourselves. How is the GRDB established? That's a bunch of the lame guiding the blind. So this is what you get. You follow what I'm saying? And that's why I keep saying you cannot be doing the same thing and expect a different result. You have to have a complete different thing. Mr. Harbhajan, you asked the farmers. In 1994, 95, the farmers were getting a kickback after the rice was sold because we were implementing the system. Until somebody said it has to be government controlled, revoke licenses, cut the electricity. Facts. But read my book. It will come out end of this year or next year. And then you will see everything printed in it. Facts. I'm doing that for the scholars in the university to show them that a good thing can be destroyed by a few people. You understand? So if this is closing, what I'm saying is rice has a fantastic future if you do it right. And I know Mr. Jonas and several other people are trying their best to make a change in the political scene. How it will pan out, I don't know. I visit Guyana because I still live there. I love Guyana, but we need some changes. We need some changes.
Mr. Jonas, you're the politicians, you're the big politicians in this screen tonight. Is Guyana, what I'm hearing tonight, apparently Guyana is a lost cause. I mean, I know it's a really unpatriotic statement to make, but what I'm hearing here, the farmers are their own enemies, the millers taking advantage of the farmers, but the millers also have their issues. Mr. Doerga said they're selling their rice 6 months after they get this line of credit, whatever arrangement it is. What is going on? How can we get this thing fixed? And how can we get that money from Panama back to Guyana?
Well, let me talk to you as a lawyer first. The description that was given just now is right. The government, GRDB, made an agreement in Panama. And therefore, the sale, the agreement is between government and government. How on earth is it that millers haven't been paid by their own government who bought the rice from them? And what has the government done to pursue and enforce the payment of the rice, which was by a contract, by the Panamanian government? They talk about negotiating and talking. Let's be clear and frank. If you entered a contract with the other contracting party in circumstances where you find yourself like now, in the lurch, there has been incompetence. And if you haven't done anything to enforce it after all these years, there's been double incompetence. But the debt is not owed to the millers by Panama. The debt is owed to the millers by the GRDB, because the GRDB sold the rice to Panama. The millers had no contract with Panama. And everybody's escaping that. And why is it that nothing is being done to enforce that claim against the GRDB? Once again, we have a situation where we are playing politics, because everybody is afraid to speak out. Because if you speak out today, guess what? You get no contracts tomorrow. You get no concessions the next day. You get no favors after that. So everyone is afraid to speak out. Everyone is waiting for the crumbs to land, but they're afraid to speak out. And what Doerga says is right. If you look at the GRPA personnel, it's almost a stepping stone. Half of them are PPP representatives in Parliament. They're not there because there is an interest in race. They're there as politicians, and that's the truth. So you have politicians who have made a ridiculously bad deal and don't know what to do about it. And who's suffering? The businessman. So Doerga's right. You need competent people who know the business, but you also need transparency. So you need to link the selling price of rice to the purchase price of paddy. You need to link the two so that the farmers find their interests aligned with the millers rather than competing against the millers. We need to get rid of that suspicion, and we need to clear it up so that none of those people who are on the clip that you just showed can say, I'm planting and I don't know what I'm going to get from a paddy. They must know, because it must be linked to the sale price of the completed product. That's the only way to get it done.
We only have 6 minutes more, Dr. Rose.
Yeah, I want to ask all of you one question. Name me 3 things. Each one of you name me one thing that should be done to enhance the rice industry. I'll start with you, Mr. Harbhajan, and be short. One thing.
Open up more land. There's a big demand for land, and that will cut the cost by put more money in the farmer pocket, because as it right now, the farmer is making 30% on the profit. The landlord is getting 25% for not doing nothing. Open up more land, and I think that should be big factor for rice farmers.
Mr. Jonas, you said politicians. Do you think politicians should be on any one of these boards?
I think once there's transparency, it limits the harm that they can do. But Doerga gave you a whole list of things that needs to be done. If a man is planting in Essequibo and milling in Essequibo, got to find a truck to reach to Georgetown just to get to the port. Or a man in quarantine got to reach to Georgetown just to get to a port. We need some more ports of entry. We need easier access to ports. We need not to be competing with gas and oil. Those ports, those wharves are full, chock-a-block, and you got waiting periods. You got horrendous situations. So we need to make life easier in terms of getting your paddy to the mill, getting your rice from the mill to a port of entry so that it could be exported, get it to the market. I would mention what Gobin talking about there, opening up rice land, because the most expensive part of that process is taking bush and clearing it and putting in drains and putting in roads. It is enormously expensive. And you got to ask who's paying for this. So you see the pie in the sky thing. you got to talk money, dollars and cents. How long will it take to recover the cost if your profit margins are now so low? I think we got to make sure we are using all the existing rice land so that nothing is lying fallow. We got to expand to that length. But if you're talking about expanding, my first question is, if your margins are small, your profit margins are small, who paying for that? If we produced and we made $40 billion in rice exports, can we justify spending $450 million as we did the other day, a couple of years back, just on a project to research seed paddy? Is that economically feasible, or is the government spending money in a way that we're accustomed to the government spending money? This thing got to make economic sense, or else we're wasting time. And taxpayers' money shouldn't be going to a lost cause. But rice can be successful if there's transparency and if professionals make decisions.
Mr. Doerga?
I will join Timothy in his last statement. I absolutely know that rice can be profitable. But if you don't fix those things, he listed a few of them. Transportation, if you don't fix the mechanism of the price, you will never succeed in it, and you will see a downturn of the rice industry. You understand? And it's uncalled for. You can fix it. It's not rocket science. It's been done before in other countries. You understand what I'm saying? So in closing, I'm just saying that let us make rice profitable again by doing the right things, bring in professionals to fix it.
Okay, gentlemen, I know 2 minutes left. We know that based on the newscast that Dr. Asha Kissoon will replace Mr. Schuman in Member of Parliament, as a Member of Parliament in the joiner list. I know based on our understanding was that the ANOG were supposed to put their rep, but I see it is Dr. Kissoon. So do we want to comment quickly on that? Maybe Mr. Jonas first, then Mr. Doerga, and then we'd have Mr. Harbhajan closing us.
Well, I can't speak on behalf of ANOG, right? I am not here in that capacity, and I'm not going to pretend to do that. But what I can tell you is that an agreement was made with TNM that we stepped back and invited them to go second. And that was done by agreement. What is beautiful about this arrangement is it shows that independent voices are cooperating successfully, are working together, are honoring an arrangement that they made. And because of that, however small they are, they have worked together and therefore have a voice. And I think that says a lot about what potentially can happen in Guyana in a larger context, where we need a single viable third party to break the deadlock and to do what the AFC did not do, although they had the opportunity. And you'll forgive me for saying that, Gobin.
No, you're spoken correct, true to the cause. Mr. Doerga, Dr. Asha Kissoon from your party, we want to congratulate her and wish her all the best. What will she plan to achieve while in Parliament?
Well, it's not my party. It is an organization which I supported because I believe you need a genuine third force. And when people like Timothy and the guys who he has in his party, when we assess that, I felt that this is the right thing to do. Because Guyana don't need an opposition who cries out the whole day. We need a constructive opposition. And from what I know of Asha Kissoon, of what ANOG is doing and so forth, that is what I expect, and I'm sure that is what you will see with her entering in Parliament, a constructive opposition so that when the next election comes, that the electorate can now decide who they want to vote for, because Guyanese will have the government they deserve. We are democracy. We vote them in. The rice industry is one of them. That is why I say the farmers are their own enemy.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Doerga. I know, Mr. Harbhajan, in closing, you are the AFC guy. What do you think of Dr. Asher Kistoon going to Parliament?
I will endorse what Timothy Jonas said, and I'll just like closing here. Back to the rice thing there. I want to let the viewers, especially farmers who are watching, I sure let them tune in, that I would have several discussion and communication with the Vice President about open up more new land, and his whole model and thinking about open farm to market road that will lower the cost of rent, and also his ministry of agriculture and is trying to work in and bringing down some costs for parts and fuel and grease and everything, so bring it lower consumption, so they can have some duty-free in those. And at the end of the tunnel, it will be a bright future for rice. But collectively, with Jonas, Doerga, and everybody, we have to put our idea together and put it out there, and I hope that one of these board members or politicians or who are listening, that they can buy into some of it, try to put the right people in the right position, so rice can be success. And I'm a strong believer. If a person that cannot function at the government agency, they need to remove him and put somebody else. The government will continue to blame.
All right, thank you. I know, Dr. Rose, you have your closing remark.
Yes, my closing remark is this, and this is unusual tonight. I'm going to ask all three of you, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, Mr. Doerga, what grade you'll give the government of handling the rice industry?
You can't scale it like that. On the one hand, I think this government is the best government we have seen so far, trying to get it right. On the other hand, the people apparently they appointed to get it done are just making a joke out of the whole thing. So how do I rate it? Do I rate it with what the government is trying to do? Because Harbhajan has a point there that they're pumping in money into it, but it is not effective. So do you expect the president to go and do it himself? Do you expect the vice president to go? They depend on the people they put there. And I'm on Gobin's chat, and I see how it's going on there. Nobody seems to be interested in structured things.
What rating you'll give them still, even though
the guys who have to implement it, I would say 2 points. The government trying their best, 6, 7.
Mr. Harbhajan?
I will give the government 8 out of 10 for pumping money into the sector, agriculture sector, and the government agency heads of department, I'll give them a 3.
Mr. Jonas?
Well, I'm sorry, I can't believe what I hear in Euclid. We got free money from gas and oil. We got free money from gas and oil. Every way you look, the government is throwing money at people. You want a contract? Here, take a contract. You want an advance pay on the contract? Take a 30%. You want a road there? Take a road. You want a ditch there? Take a ditch. Money is being thrown around because we have free money from gas and oil. To say to the government, congratulations for putting money in Ministry of Agriculture, is saying nothing, because they are bursting at the seams. Oil and gas has put 50% more than our national budget in sheer cash that these people have. So when you say, oh, I'm separating the fact that the government is throwing money at the thing, but how the money is being used and how effectively it is being used is pitiful. What you're really saying is this: it's a disaster, because you're spending good taxpayers' money that can be well implemented if you have proper systems, and you're wasting it. And you're giving contracts to your family and friends, and you're building a road now, and don't mind if the road breaks up in 3 months, because then you could give another contract to another friend in 3 months.
True.
So I'm sorry. 8? No. Come on. Let us look at this thing sensibly.
So what will you give them?
In terms of wasting taxpayers' money, you get 0. In terms of awarding contracts that are ineffective, you get 0. You need a transparent policy. You cannot have your family and friends on the RPA. You cannot have your own people appointed on the GRDB. You cannot be giving contracts, bypassing systems, and spending money, and people not seeing the result. You don't give credit just because money is being thrown at a subject. You have to see how that money has been effective.
Thanks to all of you.
Gentlemen, we got to bring it to an end. Again, we want to talk about the contract workers, the 4,000 workers, 40,000, but we can't time for that. So many things we want to discuss. But gentlemen, we want to thank you so much for coming tonight to talk about the rice industry. And we hope and pray that, as Mr. Jonas said, and all of you are saying, the government is pumping so much money into the sector, but it's being not yielding the result that we expect. And we hope that things will change and the government put professionals to run the industry. Again, from all of us here at Globespan, we want to congratulate Dr. Asha Kisoon on her appointment as a member of parliament, and we wish her all the best. To all Guyana, we say, God bless our great country of Guyana. Thank you so much.
Adios.